Welcome to our webinar today. First and foremost, I want to thank you all for attending. My name is Carrie Cantrell. I'm a facilitator at Circles, as well as a therapist and life coach at my own practice, Carrie Cantrell Coaching. At my practice, I help people create emotional wealth and live a more balanced life, overcome all of that mind drama that we have every day, and gain a little bit more confidence and self-worth. Today, I'm here with Tracy Thomas, one of my fellow Circles facilitators, who's going to be presenting on how to tell your children you and your partner have decided to get a divorce. Tracy, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Carrie. My name is Dr. Tracy Thomas. I'm a psychologist with almost 20 years experience in the mental health field. I've worked with many individuals, couples, families, and children. I hope that this webinar will be helpful in learning the best way to communicate such a painful event to your children.
We're so glad you're here with us. Thank you so much. And honestly, this topic that we're going to be talking about today is so needed. I know so many of my circles personally talk about this all the time, like just the being able to communicate with their family about how to talk to their children, not only at the beginning of the process, but throughout the process of divorce. And so I'm so glad you're here and talking to us about this topic. But before we get started, for those of you who don't know, Circles is a leading platform for emotional support and ensures that no one has to overcome life's challenges alone, such as divorce, separation, even some other things like narcissistic relationships, anxiety. And we're built on the core principle that in order to come these challenges that I've mentioned, that you need to be around people who help you feel heard and supported, people who understand what you're going through. So our platform matches you with people who are going through these similar experiences as you. And each circle is led by a mental health professional, such as myself and Tracy. And together with your group members and your facilitator, you get the support that you're looking through to help you through the healing process. Today, during our webinar, we have a special offer for every single one of you, which is a free month at Circle. So you get January free when you use the code new 2022, and you'll get January free. So make sure you take advantage of that. I'm so glad all of you are here for this webinar today to experience that offer with us and hopefully join one of our circles. But before we get started, I just want to mention a few logistical things about our webinar today. This is a webinar, so that means there's one-way audio and one-way video. So you can see us and you can hear us, but we can't see or hear you. And with that being said, we do want to hear from you. So please use the comment box to enter your questions and your comments throughout the webinar. I'm going to be here on the back end supporting you every step of the way as Tracy is giving her presentation. I'm going to be answering your questions and your comments, and we're going to make sure that you feel heard during today's webinar. So go ahead and submit them. So without ado, let's get started.
Thanks, Carrie. Okay, so let's get started on how to tell my child or children that we are getting a divorce. So today's objective is, number one, what to do and not do when talking to your children. Number two, how to talk to your child, age and developmental, emotional reactions, and finally, what your child wants. Children would rather be from a broken home than live in one. Divorce is an extremely difficult process for you and your children. Children do not have the words or coping skills to understand the emotions that they are feeling. Although you may have some internal conflicts about the divorce when it comes to children, the divorce removes the source of the conflict, which can enable children to become better adjusted. Children do not do well with ongoing conflict in their lives. It puts them into the conflict and away from themselves, preventing completion of the developmental skills that they need to master. Conflict then becomes normal to them. Your role will be to help your children to understand that they will get through this difficult time. They need to feel that they are loved and cared about and that you will help them get through this tough time. They need to know that that the divorce is not their fault and that mom and dad are divorcing each other and not them. They need to know that they can't fix things or make it right for their parents and that it is up to their parents to make it turn out all right. So, what to do and not do? One of the top 10 tips that we have here is create a plan to talk to the children together, how and when in person with both parents. Although it may be difficult to work together with your spouse at this time, it is crucial to find a way now for the sake of the child or your children, their health, and their mental well-being. Write out a guide or script to use to talk to the children to help you remember everything that is important to tell the child. Children remember the first 2 sentences when you do speak to them. Try to remember what it was like for you as a child. So try to look at things from their point of view. Tell the truth with clear messages. Example, we have made the choice to divorce because we think it is best. We will always be your mom and dad. We are still going to be a part of your life. This shows a united front. We are always going to work together even though we are living apart. You and your spouse know your child. So anticipate any questions and prepare an answer together. It's better to anticipate than to react. Let them ask questions. Be honest if you don't know the answers. Children know more than parents give them credit. Listen to your children and pay attention to their question. Some common questions that you may hear are like, was this my fault? Could I have done anything to make you stick together? How about now? If I promise to behave, will that make you get back together? Will you still love me, even if you don't live with me? How often will I get to see you? Do I have to move? Do I have to change schools? Will we have enough money? Number 3, develop a new normal. As this is a time where everything is changing, remember your child or children need to develop a new normal. For your children, it starts with when you tell them. Timing is everything. Don't tell them when it is too soon, months or years before the move or separation. All this does is cause anxiety. Tell them with a short transition plan. A few weeks prior, understand that the child may feel comfortable talking to one parent first, then another, so don't take it personally. They have their own relationship with both of you. Maintain a routine in both houses as much as possible. Talk about new traditions that may be unique to your relationships and traditions that may stay the same. Do not make the child feel guilty for wanting to spend time with the other parent. They need you to listen to them about the other parent without judgment and unconditional love for the child. Do not tell them that you're lonely when they are away. Number 4, reassure your child that you still love them multiple times. When you think it is enough, do it again. Some examples would be, we love you and we always will. Our love will never end no matter what happens between us. Throughout your conversation, say I love you multiple times. This helps reassures them. We always will be your parents. They need to know that you're not going away. You're divorcing each other and not the child. We have a relationship with you that is special to just you. Our love for you will not change. The child needs to understand that they cannot fix the problem. Another example would be, we're not able to live together anymore. I know it hurts, but it is for the best for all of us. There's no one to blame for our divorce or our marriage ending. We both want different things in our lives. Another one would be, we wanted this to work. We always have love for each other, but we don't love each other like we did. Something else, it also talking and reassuring them reduces the chances that your child will manipulate you to get what they want. Children learn very quickly that they can play the parents against each other. So you have to maintain that the rules are still the same. You also need to explain the future as much as possible. When you're also speaking to them, it is okay to be emotional. It helps to show them that you are sad too. And if it does happen, you can easily say, Mom or Dad is sad. This is hard for all of us. Let's take a break. We will talk later. Or we will get through this. Number 5, effective parenting has nothing to do with pointing out our faults and everything to do with working out our solutions. Protect your children from the conflicts between you and your spouse as much as you can. They do not need to be involved in the conflict. It's not fair to them. The child's emotional health is more important than the conflict. Do not badmouth the other parent in front of the child or even around the children. If the children are in the house, assume they can hear you. When you criticize or hurt one another, you are also hurting your children. Whether you realize it or not, you're chipping away at their emotional well-being and self-esteem, piece by piece. To hear something bad about either one of you makes them feel that they are hearing something bad about themselves. Remember, you are one half of your child, and your spouse is the other half. Most parents are not aware of just how damaging it is to talk negatively about their spouse. You must set what your intention will be when dealing with your children and not be emotionally reactive. Many well-intentioned parents are not aware of how their actions are impacting their children. So keep in mind, this is about your children. So it would be helpful to encourage your child in developing healthy relationship with the other parent, if possible. Children do better when they have a good relationship with both parents. Number 6, put aside your issues with your spouse to work together for your children. No matter what happened between you and your spouse, the topic of conversation needs to be about the children and only the children. So be on the same page regarding rules and expectations. Set clear rules for both households. They don't have to be the exact same, but something to discuss with the other parent. Avoid trying to buy your child's affection. Organize fair time with the other parent. The child loves you both and wants to spend as much time with the both of you as they can. And reassure your child. I can't say that too much. Remember, this is all about your children. Number 7, co-parenting is just like a business relationship. Just like you have a relationship with your coworkers, remember that at this time, you have to remember to be respectful to each other, be flexible, share parental duties. It's a partnership. You are both raising your children, even if you're not together. You have to work together as if your spouse or your soon-to-be ex will be your coworker. You don't have to like your spouse to identify what is best for your child, just like you won't like all of your coworkers. Remember to consult each other rather than inform. You have to remember what it's like if somebody tells you what to do instead of just talking to you about it. You both want the best for your child, so please make decisions in the best interest of your children. Communicate directly with your spouse. Stick to the facts. The child is not a messenger. If you can't talk to each other in person or over the phone, emails and text messages works just fine. Remember to use common courtesy. Please and thank you works wonders. And be patient. Be very patient. Try not to take anything personal. Remember, the children are learning how to communicate with someone that they don't get along with. Also, do not rescue your child from the other parent unless it's a safety issue. Children will always tend to say, I'm mad at this parent, so I want to go to this parent's house. And that's not going to help them in the long run. And if anything, if co-parenting is too difficult, get help when you need it. There's nothing wrong with that. There can always be someone else to help mediate. Number 8, avoid talking about finances with your children. I'm not saying that teaching your children about the importance of finances is not important, because that is the case, it is. But in the case of divorce, you don't need to talk about what the other parent has or the amount of money that they have or do not have. Children already have anxiety about what will happen. Arguing about money further scares them. Be realistic about what you can and cannot do. So basically, talk to them a little bit about what your limitations are. So if they say they want to go to Disney World next year and you know you can't afford it, and then you can easily say something as simple as, we can make plans to go at another time, but may not be the right year to go. Okay. Number 9, I'm going through a tough time right now. Sometimes I just want to be left alone. But if you know me and you're in my life, please don't give up on me. I need you most right now. Those are from the words of a child. So give the children time to adjust. Just like you need time, they need time too. It is okay to talk about the divorce in a few days when more details are known and less emotional. You know your child. Do not rush their process. Children need time. Remember that they are children, so it takes them a little bit more time to think about all of the things and to process the things that you have had time to process. Like I said earlier, they don't have the emotional words or the maturity that adults have. So they also don't have the ability to process like adults do. Finally, model healthy coping skills. So for you, there's some emotion-focused coping skills like exercising, taking a bath, giving yourself a pep talk, meditate. And then there's also problem focus, work on managing some time, asking for support, joining in circles, establishing healthy boundaries, and creating a to-do list. So this is a time right now where you have to take care of yourself. First, just like you hear on an airplane, in the case of an emergency, you put on your air mask first. In the case of an emergency, you have to take care of you first and then take care of your children. So lean on your support system. Develop a stronger network. Seek out help. Seek out groups. Join support groups. Remember, you are not alone. Stay healthy. So eating and exercising, new hobbies, joining new activities, rediscovering who you are and what you like, engaging in healthy activities that you've not had a chance to do. So do things that even as a child that you wanted to do before that you didn't have. Remember, you're going to have a little bit more time, so you need to do some of the things that you like. These are all things that your children get to see that you are doing, which will help them to learn the more healthy coping skills for themselves. So be aware of your own emotions. Children are not your support. Children do not need to worry about your emotions, although they do need to understand that you're grieving and it is okay. Your child will always feel your emotions. So to understand that they feed off of you and they feed off of your spouse. Give your child the space to cry and be angry, and sometimes they will take it out on you. Try not to react. Just try to be aware that is possible and that is something that may happen. Your child is learning how to deal with conflict by watching you. So, setting some healthy boundaries, letting them know it's okay to be angry, but it's not okay to take out their emotions in a negative way. And if you are concerned about your child's mental health or their well-being, do not be afraid to seek out help. So, how to talk to your child based on age. Children will respond differently to divorce based on their age or their developmental age. So, their chronological age or their developmental. Keep the conversation to what they understand. Younger children need less details. As the child ages, more details are needed. So, birth to age 5. This is probably the easiest age to talk about divorce because they don't understand. So you have to keep the answers simple and concrete. So something that you can say is talking about when the other parent is moving. Mommy or daddy is moving out on Saturday or Sunday. Even at that time, it depends on the age, whether they even know what that date means. So you can easily say mommy or daddy is moving. How often the other parent will be seeing the child would be simply as mommy or daddy will see you tomorrow. Who will be looking after the child? You will stay with mom or you will stay with dad. And that's very simple and concrete as you can, because at this age they don't understand as much. But 6 to 11 years old. At this age, you have to keep the conversation straightforward and simple. Answer the questions in an age appropriate manner. So you don't want to say something that is beyond their age. So you know them. So you know what they can understand. So you can say mom and dad are leaving and moving out. You don't say we're relocating. They wouldn't understand that unless they're some would at an higher age. We always have to remind them that you love them and that they had nothing to do with the decision to divorce. At this age, children tend to blame themselves and they try to bargain and try to convince you that they would not, if they change their behavior, that hopefully that you would stay together. This is very important to remind them that they had nothing to do with it and there's nothing that they can do to fix this. Encourage them to do what they love and spend time with each other, the other family members, and their friends. If they're willing to read books about divorce, read it with them. So talk to them about it. Encourage them to express themselves. Encourage them to tell you how they feel. Let them know again that they cannot change the divorce and they don't need to try to fix it. Encourage them to deal with their emotions. Some children feel sad or angry when their parents are divorced, and sometimes they blame the parent who actually said the words first. Understand that this is normal and it's okay. Just remember to remind them how much you love them. And now, as they get a little bit older, between the ages of 12 and 18, you keep the conversation open. Allow them to speak when they are ready. Give them space to seek out healthy relationships outside the home. They need you even when they're rejecting you. The rejection is part of their developmental age. So at this time, even if there wasn't a divorce, there was a chance that they'd reject you anyways. At this age, they understand what divorce means. They may have more questions, some of them very in depth. So be prepared to answer those questions. Keep the conversation open again. Allow them to tell you exactly how they feel and their thoughts when they are ready, because teenagers have their own timing and they tend to talk when they're ready. Remember that they're going through more hormonal changes and peer-related issues, so it is even more critical to be patient with your children at this age. Do not be offended if they express their anger in a respectful manner, and you may even get it in a disrespectful manner, but that is when the boundaries need to be set. Allow them to vent to their friends. Peer relationships at this age is very important, and it's a very important part of their development. Provide healthy support. They need you. They need you to be there no matter what. As adult children, many people take that meaning that you can have a very frank conversation with these children at this age, but remember, they are still your children. They don't need to have any of the details about what happened. They will ask a little bit more questions, but understand that they still may struggle. They still may have a difficult time with the idea that their parents are getting a divorce. Remember that you can talk to them, but do not talk negative about your spouse. It's not necessary, and it still hurts them, because no matter what, you are still their parents. Keep in mind that they will also go through a grief process as well, like any other age. Okay. So some emotional responses that will be normal across any of them is when parents announce they're getting a divorce, the children's support structure temporarily collapses as what they understand about their lives has completely changed. So what they expected their future to look like, what they expected their next 5 years to be looked at, that has all changed for them. And they really don't understand, or they really understand that nothing's going to be the same. So they have to have that time to process as well. So children can feel alone and terrified about their future. Their sense of sadness and loss is profound and overwhelming. They are afraid of losing their family forever. Remember, children do not have any control over the situation. The divorce is happening to them. Remember, as adults, we struggle with dealing with emotions, and we have learned a lot of the words to express them. Children are not able to process their emotions like adults, as they don't have the words and sometimes not even the capabilities to process what they are feeling. Remember that they are still children. So as you are seeing everything, there are some normal feelings that they would be going to. But some of the things that would help is teach your child emotional words. They need to learn to say, I am sad too. They need to hear, it is okay to be angry. Also, some children may not have a reaction to the divorce, or they may be glad that it's happening. It is okay. When the children are experiencing a lot of conflict, sometimes the feeling of being relieved that it's over is very predominant, but sometimes that's just one aspect of it. Just like you may have mixed feelings and you may have up and downs, children may have those same feelings as well. There's not a right or wrong emotional reaction. And don't minimize their feelings by saying it will be okay. Instead, say things like, we will get through this. Mom and dad will help you the best way we can. One of the things I have heard a lot is, but I feel bad and that they are so sad and they're so angry with me. But there's hope. Most children adjust well within 2 years following the divorce, which is dependent on the narrative of the parents and the amount of conflict. About 80% of children have no problems within 2 years. So how you as the parent respond and deal with the divorce can have a huge impact on how fast a child recovers and stabilizes. Children are highly resilient. They will be okay as long as you are. Let them talk. Acknowledge their feelings. Encourage them to talk no matter if it hurts you. As children age, they may have more questions. Be prepared to answer them. Be patient and reassure them. And they need lots of physical affection at this time. They need a lot of reassurance. It's really important at this time to be there even more for your children. So, this is actually a time that you can really develop a strong relationship with your child if everything is handled correctly. And even if it isn't, there's always hope. You can always make amends later. But the goal is to do it at the beginning. So we have some normal reactions to divorce or separation. Anger, anger. Your kids may express their anger, rage, and resentment with you and your spouse for destroying their sense of normalcy. Completely normal. Anxiety. It's natural for children to feel anxious when faced with big changes in their lives. Their constant worry, what's going to happen now? Who's going to be there? Who's going to take me to my events? Are you going to be there? Is mom or dad going to get married? Is that going to be their new mom? Is that going to be my new dad? Those are all anxiety feelings that they have, and there needs to be lots of reassurance. They also may feel some mild depression. Sadness about the family's new situation is normal. Sadness, when coupled with a sense of hopelessness and helplessness, is likely to become a form of mild depression. Remember, they're going to feel hopeless and helpless because they don't understand. The same as what you do, you will as well. So the difference, though, is that a lot of children don't have the words and they don't know how they are feeling inside. And they don't understand that they may be feeling multiple feelings, but it's okay. Okay. But some red flags. So one of the things that you do need to be aware is some red flags for more serious problems. If things get worse rather than better after several months following your divorce, it may be a sign that your child is stuck in depression, anxiety, or anger and could use some additional support. Watch for these warning signs of divorce-related depression or anxiety in kids: sleep problems, difficulty falling asleep, staying asleep, or getting up, poor concentration. It's affecting them. They can't focus. They can't think about anything. They're forgetting. They're having trouble at school, whether it's in their grades or in their behavior. They start using drugs or alcohol. Some self-injuries where they're cutting themselves, burning themselves, hitting themselves, any of that. Eating disorders where they're not eating a lot or they're starving themselves or binge or purging. Frequent angry or violent outbursts where they're fighting, they're destroying their items in their room, they're destroying things at school, where they're attacking one parent or another physically. Withdrawal from loved ones. It depends on the age, but withdrawal from loved ones where it's more than normal, where they're staying away from you, they're staying away from things that they love, their friends, their families, their siblings. So in disinterest in loved activities, so things that they loved before the divorce, they decided they don't like anything at all, and they're not participating in anything at all. That is some red flags, some things that if you see any of these, that you need to start seeking out help, because it could be a more serious issue. What your child wants from you. So here's the Children's Divorce Bill of Rights. So every child whose parent divorced has, number one, the right to love and be loved by both of their parents without feeling guilty or disapproval. They don't want to be in the middle. The right to be protected from their parents' anger with each other. They don't need to be involved in that. The right to be kept out of the middle of the child's conflict, including the right not to pick sides, carry messages, or hear complaints about the other parent. The right not to have to choose one of the parents over the other. The right not to have to be responsible for the burden of either of their parents' emotional problems. The right to know well in advance about important changes that will affect their life. For example, one parent is going to move or get remarried. The right to reasonable financial support during their childhood and through their college years. The right to have feelings, to express feelings, and to have both parents listen to how they feel. The right to have a life that is as close as possible to what it would have been if the parents stayed together. And the right to be a kid. A lot of the children at this age feel like they have to grow up very quickly, but they still need to be a child and they have their own childhood. Some things that a child would also want you to know is that they need both of you to stay involved in their life. They want you to call them, email, text, and ask them lots of questions, even when they say they don't. When you don't stay involved, they feel like they're not important and you don't really love them. And basically, they feel like the only reason that the parents were together was for them and not for them, not for the children. They want to see you at any of their important events. That's also very, very important for them. They also want you to stop fighting and work hard to get along with each other. They want you to agree on matters related to them. So when you do fight about them, they think that they did something wrong and they feel guilty. And they do anything they can to try to make it either better or worse. So they try whatever they can in their mind to make it better. And sometimes it actually does the opposite. They want to love you both and enjoy the time that they spend with each of you. They want you to support them in the time that they spend with each of you. So if you act jealous or upset or say that you're lonely, they feel they need to take sides and love one parent more than the other. So they also feel like they're divided. They don't feel like they can actually be happy in either one of your houses, which is also causes further anxiety within them. They want you to communicate directly with each other. So they don't want to be the messengers. They don't want to be in the middle of you two. So that would be, again, sending emails and text messages if you can't talk to each other directly. So when talking about the other parent, please say only kind things or don't say anything at all. When you say mean and unkind things about your other parent, they feel like you're expecting them once again to take your side, and they are once again feeling divided. And more importantly, when you talk negatively about the other parent, you're talking about half of who they are. They are half of yours and half of them, of your spouses. So they really need you to understand that you love them and you love all of them. So please remember that your child wants both of you in your life. They want you to count on both of you to raise them, to teach them what is important, to help when you have problems. Like I said earlier, your child will have a very different relationship with both of you, which is normal, the same way you would have different relationships with all of your children. So don't be offended if your child goes to one parent versus the other, or talk to one parent versus the other, or if that child talks to one parent first and then talks to you about the other parent, they need you to listen. They need you to understand that it's okay, and that they don't need to choose sides. So you have to be careful of alienating your child. So you want to understand that please don't be angry. It's not their fault. So a lot of times when kids are feeling that they're having the anger taken out on them, they also get angry and they also respond in that way. Please don't stop showing that you love them, even though they may not respond. That's very normal, especially the older they get, the more they don't respond as much to saying that they love you or giving them affection. Some children are more affectionate than the other, and it's okay. Please remember that they are also under emotional pressure. Please understand that they disconnect, or why they disconnect or push you away. And that's part because of age. And if they are feeling alienated, they definitely do it more. They want only kindness and love, and look after them so you can be, see, please look after yourself so you can be there for them. They don't want you to get sick. They don't want you to be hurt. They don't want you ever to give up on them because they need you. Please understand that sometimes the words that they say aren't their own. So sometimes they're repeating what they've heard. And please understand that it's not always your child, and just to listen to them. Please don't make them feel more guilty than they already feel. They already feel bad. They already feel guilty. These are just normal reactions. And please don't be reactive to the bad things that are said. So instead of being yelling and screaming, sometimes it's better to sit them down and talk to them to figure out what is going on. Sometimes, and remember that they do love you. No matter what happens, they do love you. And if they feel alienated, they can't show it right now because they may be afraid. And remember, don't talk bad about the other parent, because they do love them too. There is no such thing as a broken family. Family is family, and it is not determined by marriage certificates, divorce papers, and adoption documents. Families are made in the heart. Let your narrative be of love. Your children need you. And here are a list of books that I have as well. And I believe that this will also be sent to you, that you've registered. These are a list of books that you can read to your children. And I think there might be some questions. I think Carrie is here.
Yes, that was so good. And I have to say, one of my favorite books, and I'm pretty sure it's a really good book for this topic, is The Invisible String. Is really good for a lot of different topics where kids are going through emotions. So I love that one on this list. I've used it for a lot of kids that are going through difficult times. So I just want to mention that one. But anyways, yes. So I was keeping track of some questions as you were talking, Tracy, and I want to touch on a few different things. So when you were going through the 10 tips, I believe you were talking about one of the tips being to give children time. So when they were processing and healing, to give children time. And Debbie mentioned in the chat box this question when you were going over that tip. She said, I struggle with this specifically because I always question how much time is too much time before I seek more help or worry about my son. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I would say, Debbie, you know your child the best. So the best thing to do is know when, if you don't feel it's right, then it's time to seek out help. If you see any of the negative emotional ones here that I mentioned here, I believe. Let's look at that. I believe it's here. Let's go back.
I think you're even actually going back to some of the things that are in the second question that I pulled from our audience. So it's okay. Keep going.
Let's look. Let's see if we can get through. Yes, some red flags. If you see any of the red flags here, these are definitely going to be some of the times that you definitely want to seek out help.
And I think that makes so much sense. And and I hope that helps Debbie. And that actually leads me to the second question, which was from John. And he mentioned it when you were actually going over these red flags. And I was like, good question, John. He wanted to know, what are some signs that his child might be adjusting well?
Oh, well, then that would be just going back and forth, having no issues, being able to talk to them, being able to, say, I feel this way. I'm angry because of this. Or, I have no issues like, oh, mom, dad, I want you to spend time together. Really being able to communicate and showing that they are able to have a good relationship with both of you.
And I'm really glad you say that, because I think sometimes with kids who are a little bit more vocal about how they're feeling, our brain says, oh my gosh, something's wrong, because they're telling us, I feel angry, right? Like, I feel frustrated right now. I feel sad right now. But in some ways, the fact that they're communicating with us and telling us how they feel and we're able to address it and say, thanks so much for telling me, let's talk about it, can actually be a sign that they're adjusting
Pretty
pretty
well.
well. As long as it's a decent balance and that they're not having some of these additional red flags in a pattern is what I'm hearing you say. Is that kind of a good summary?
Yes, definitely.
Good. And then I do have one more question here from Laura. She says, I keep thinking it would be nice to talk to other parents about my experience. And I think this kind of came near the end where you were kind of just giving like the children's bill of rights and like what they should and they shouldn't do with their kids. And I'm sure for all the parents that are here listening today, that can feel overwhelming. Like, oh my gosh, I have to do this and I have to do that, but I can't do this. And then I have to keep it to myself. And like, am I hiding everything? I'm sure a lot of parents are feeling that way. So sorry, let me finish the comment from Laura. She says, it would be nice to talk to other parents experiencing divorce and trying to go through this co-parenting experience. We're here at Circles. What would a circle be like for me? Could it help me kind of release some of this feeling that I have about needing to talk to other people?
Absolutely. I believe it would definitely do that because in a group setting, you're not only with a facilitator, you're also with many parents who are feeling the same exact way as you are. And you all are all being able to vent. You're not feeling alone. You all have tips for each other and you're learning healthy coping skills. You're learning different ways to have these conversations. Some of these tough conversations like, oh my gosh, what did my child just ask me this? How do I answer this? Because it's okay to say, well, I'll get back to you, buddy, about this. And let's talk about this later.
One of my favorite responses. Let me think about that. I'll get right back to you. Work, kids, school, life, it works.
And then after you've had a conversation in group and you're able to process these thoughts, then you can come back and say, I gave it some thought and here's your answer. Because as a parent, we still have to go back and say, this is what I've discovered or this is what I've thought about. Because you don't want to put it aside and wait till they come back to you again. Because then it's like, well, you told me you were coming back. Did you just lie to me?
Yeah, I'm really hearing you kind of emphasize consistency there and stability. And I think throughout the whole divorce process, not only as the person going through the divorce in the relationship, is it important to find what can be stable and consistent for you throughout that time. But kids also need a little bit of that too.
Mhm.
So they might be moving, they might be leaving their home, their parents are separating. Can school be that consistent place for them? Are the adults in their life creating that consistency for them? And also you coming back and communicating with them is another form of consistency for them and letting them know. So that's a really good point.
Mhm.
Perfect. Well, unfortunately, I think that's all the time we have for today. Is there any last comments you want to add, Tracy?
No, I just look forward to seeing anybody in the new circles, and we will be more than happy to help you.
Yeah, I think on that note, like our separation and divorce circles talk about co-parenting within them all the time. And there's such a strong support system just within those about all the ups and downs that people go through in this phase or this journey of life. So that's a great point. I do want to take a moment and thank you for being here and sharing your knowledge with us. And also thank everybody for attending today and being here, being present, showing up, asking questions, and sharing your comments in the chat box with me. And I hope that all of you recognize this as kind of your first step in your healing process. And I hope that all of you are willing to take a great second step by joining us in our circles, as Tracy just mentioned. So I went ahead and I put that offer back up on your screen. Remember, you guys can get a free month at Circles, free January at Circles by using the code NEW2022. And remember, you're going to be around a group of people who not only know exactly what you're going through because they're also going through it, but you're going to have support every step of the way with weekly video groups and a chat group that is available to you 24/7. And so I hope that you will take that step and join us. You will get an email shortly with all of the details on how to join our group, as well as information on the offer code. So you'll no longer have to deal with parenting and divorce and separation and all these things we talked about today alone, because you'll be with people who truly get it. Once again, thank you all for joining, and we'll see you soon.
Thank
Bye.
you, Carrie. Bye.